Hi, welcome to another Save Your Books live event. Today we are going to be working on the Night Before Christmas book that I started last time, and we're just going to keep going with it and see how far we can get. Hopefully we'll get, we could even finish it. Maybe. We'll see in an hour. So welcome to all of you who've joined me, and I wanted to say before we get started doing anything here that I have an option for you guys. I don't know what you're going to think about this, but this is the original spine, and it's kind of this old textured book cloth, kind of a really dark blue, and it's, it's shot. I'm replacing it, and I have these options for a new spine for the book. So I've got, this is Japanese tissue, and what I can do is glue these together. I could even paint these to match the exact color of the old spine. That is one way to go. Another way to go is, hey, it's a Christmas book. Let's do some red. Matches the Santa Claus suit. And then it's Christmassy, and, it's a new thing. And, it'll get tucked over just like the, underneath the thing there, just like the old one. Anyway, that's another option. Or go with black. And these, both of these are a paper-lined canopetta. These are archival book cloths that I really like to work with. They're the linen. They last a long time. They're super strong. And the black is more maybe going, it almost looks like the old one. I mean, this is really, really dark blue. So there's all of that. And so I'm like, which do you think? Black, Christmassy red, or go with the Japanese tissue and then should I make it be the dark blue to match the original or not? And I don't have to do it right away, so we got some time. Hopefully I'll get some comments on that, and if not, I'm just going to pick one. I'm kind of leaning towards the black cloth, but I don't know, because there's no title that's going to be on it, so that would be just a really easy way to go. I don't know, the red would be nice too, though, huh? Okay, so that's what I'm up to. I'm going to go ahead and put the camera down so you can see the process that I'm working on next. There we go. Sorry for all the futzing around with that, but at least now you can see. And I can kind of see people are on there. Great. Excellent. So here we are. What I've got so far is I cleaned all the pages to a certain extent. I went through and I actually removed some of the crayon that was here. So this looks better than it did before, but it's still obviously red. I just decided to kind of go, yeah, it's been crayoned, but it's okay. And it was probably my mom who did that, or her sister Kathy, so, or Rhodey. Looks like Rhodey was in here too. My aunties. So that's just nice to just keep that in there, really. I'm not going to sew the book exactly as it was originally because it was sewn. Let's see, did I repair that page or not? Yes, I repaired that page. Okay. It had a lot of holes and was basically, run through a sewing machine, and it just sewed it. I'm going to do something very similar to that, but just using needle and thread. So I've just got this bookbinding thread. You can go to a, store and get any kind of thread. I mean, if you get a nice linen thread or something for maybe buttonholes or whatever, but I'm like, I don't want to get caught up on what kind of thread this is. It's like, get some thread and make sure it's not going to break. If you tug on it, it shouldn't break. That's the main thing. You just don't want it to break, and you don't want it to be so thick that if it goes through, you're going to add a whole lot of bulk to the edge of the spine there. Okay, one of the things I do with my thread before I sew is I'll run it through a beeswax candle, or beeswax doesn't have to be a candle, any kind of beeswax, and that's just going like this. It keeps it from getting tangled up, It also is an extra protective coating to make it even more archival, and it just it also helps the knots kind of stick together. So it keeps it from tangling up, and it helps it just stay in place. So both things like that. So I've got this, getting ready to do the sewing. But before I do the sewing, I'm just going to set the cover aside for a minute. The structure of the book is such that originally there was a whole nother sheet of paper wrapped around here, and that was the other half of the illustration, and it got pasted down onto the board, as you can see. So this was the other sheet of paper that was wrapped around there. And so now, instead of, doing a new whole other sheet of paper, which I suppose would be a possibility, I've just got this paper that it's an archival end leaf paper, antique end leaf, and then I lined it with some muslin, and I just glued those together, and then they're going to eventually get tucked underneath the turn-in flap here. And look, something like that. So I decided that a nice neutral color was the way to go with the paper here. Could have gone with blue, could have, photocopied the picture and made a Japanese tissue thing. This is just what made sense to me. Just have a neutral piece of paper, have the strength of the new muslin going across there. So this has to get sewn onto this to this. And then I'll be able to, get these tucked in there. So here we are, back to the sewing. You can make the paper exactly the same height. I actually made mine a hair less tall than that, and I've already clipped, you can see I've clipped this one half of the thing because I want to get to the middle. And the next thing I need to do is to clip. It's like you don't want to open it up because things start moving around. You want to have it kind of how it's going to wind up being. There, I can clip that in place. I'm noticing that it's getting a little uneven. I want to make sure that all the pages are lined up. Okay, that's better. I don't know why they were moving around a little. Maybe I'll put that on the same side. Alright, and then it's all held in place, and you just take an awl, any kind of an awl, nothing too wide though. The thinner the better, really. Here are two kinds of awls. There are a lot of kinds of awls out there, so just anything really would work. And then it doesn't matter how many you poke, really. I guess you want to have an uneven number though because of the way we're going to sew it. So just starting here, I don't want to be any further out than like a ½ an inch from the edges. And I'm just poking holes that are already there. I'm finding them. I'm just kind of randomly selecting them. I could be more specific, but I mean, ultimately, I guess you're going to see the sewing. You're going to see the threads going across, because when you open the book, it'll be there. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7. Let's see. Like that. 8. instead of forcing it, sometimes I'll start twisting it, and that makes it go easier. 10 and 11. All right, that's all the holes I need. And now for the sewing, and maybe I'll just put this up to help hold it in place. Okay. This is just a pamphlet stitch that I'm doing. That's kind of what it's called. Where you're sewing and you leave a tail about the mouse's tail, size tail. And then you kind of weave in and out going one direction. So I'm starting going up toward the head. And I'm not going to worry too much about tightening it right now because it's, you know, it would get loose on the next one. So I'm just going to wait till I get up a little further and there's actually something to create some tension. Make sure when you're sewing that you don't pull, you know, and catch the corner of the book like that. That's why you never want to pull really hard or fast. Alright, so I'm all the way to the top. I'm realizing now that showing white thread on white muslin on a white book is not very helpful, but hopefully it's, you know, you're able to see that. And then you just start weaving back, just same in, out, each one of the holes. I mean, it's looking like the thread that I'm using is a little longer than I needed. I probably could have stuck with, you know, 2 times the height of the book plus a little bit, and it would have been a little easier than wrangling this longer piece of thread, but it's fine. And now I'm tugging on each station. That's not really tight enough like that. You can, it's like there's no snap to that. It's very kind of lax or loose. So I can take this and just pull it a little more. Pull that a little more. You just want to make sure there are no gaps. Okay. Oops. Go. And the whole key to a pamphlet stitch is to skip over the tail when you get to it and go to the next hole. If you're not careful when you're going through the holes, you can start, you know, well, like right there, I probably can't see that, but I poked through the page like, you know, 1/8 of an inch that direction instead of where I should have poked, so it's easy to kind of mess up a little bit. Just gotta be careful. Alright, almost there. So notice I'm always pulling in the direction of the thread. The thread is going this way, so I pull that way. And now that I'm going the other way, I have to be careful because you don't want to pull and, you know, tear. Ouch. But it's anchored pretty solidly, so that'll be all right. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Alex. Hey. Hey, congratulations on graduating. I know it has nothing to do with bookbinding. I just had to say something. I love you. All right, back to sewing. All right, there we go. And back here. Wait. Yes, that's right. All right. One more. So now I'm going in the hole that the tail started in, my very starting point. And I want to make sure that I come out on the other side of the thread that's going down the middle of it. So I've got the thread and then these two ends, and that just makes it easy to tie, just, you know, right over left, left over right, get a little knot going, and that's all you have to do. And now that is sewn, I can unclip it. Alright, so there we go. Now you can start seeing how this works. So now that that's there, I can put this in. Oh, well, I guess I'm not quite done. One of the other things I did between the part 1 and part 2 is I cleaned off this inner part. I lifted up the inside page, the paste down, and I've got that on here as well. And I just wanted to show you kind of why that's going on. So instead of just lifting this, leaving all of this on there and tucking this down, is you've got all this, because you could preserve quite a lot of the illustration, as you can see. This is nearly the whole thing. Like, you can, if I could just keep all of that illustration, I could have it on there. And that is one way to go. And maybe, in fact, I think I'll try that on this side. So I'm removing the old mull from the book, and it's just peeling off. Yay, I don't have to do much. That was super simple. And so now when I, put this all together, I can just glue this all right onto there. The reason that I didn't do it on the front is because what happens is that you can see this is curling right here. And if I glue this on here, and there's no board underneath it, because there's actually no board on that section. There's a good, maybe 1/4 of an inch where it goes past the board onto the joint area. And so it's a little hard to explain what that all means, but what it means to me is that this tendency of this to curl up is going to continue and may cause it to flip up and be a problem later on. But we're just going to leave that there in the back and see how that goes. And as you can see in the front, I actually sanded the illustration right off up to the board so that this is supported by the board as you're attaching it. Okay, so all of that aside, let's see here. What have we got? We've got, this is just kind of the way it goes. So I'm going to line up the text block on the board. So what I'm looking at here is kind of the picture frame. It's called the square. The inner part of this board, I want it to go all the way around evenly, or in other words, you can see where the illustration is on this piece of paper. You just want to line up the book with that because that's how it was originally. And you definitely don't want the book, you know, sticking out over the edge when you're making the new spine. So get it as kind of close as you can. Lined up. On this book, it's a little hard because it's so small. You know, other books might have an inch thick of stuff you can push around, but this is a pretty thin book. All right, I put the other piece on, and now I'm lining up the board to the other board. And now there's some options. What I really want to do is I want none of this to move now, and then I want to put the new spine on and attach it just to the board so I can get the right fitting for that. So maybe I can use these little clips. Nope, not quite thick enough. I have some other clips though. Here's one. So this is one way to go, is just clip the book. You can see I just pushed that aside, so I'm having to double check, make sure everything's in place. Okay, so now that's clipped, and then I can just kind of hold it up here in a press. And all right, let's see. Oh, hi Christopher. Hi Roxanne. So I've got my spine material, and I don't know, nobody said red or black. What do you think? I think I'm not going to go with the blue. I was thinking blue because that was the original thing. Red, black. You can comment. Nope. Okay. Man, I'm torn. I'm not sure which one I want. I'm leaning toward the black first because it's more traditional. And it's the night before Christmas, so it's kind of night-like, so maybe that's fine. Yeah, I think I'll go with the black. I know, a little boring, but that's the way it is. Alright, so I'm just kind of seeing how it fits on here, making sure that I'm not going to run into any problems putting this on. I'm actually winding up peeling. I feel like I need to peel this down a little further. Or maybe the book cloth is too long. Oh, it's totally too long. I need to cut off 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4 of an inch. All right, so I'm going to cut off 1/4 of an inch. Or so. Something. Yeah. There we go. That'll fit better. Now, something that I could do to make it blend in more is to sand or bevel the edge of this board. I mean, of the book cloth. Set that there. It makes it just, you know, blend in a little easier and not be so lumpy when your hand, you know, touches that part. And I don't know, I've got the 220. 100 would be fine. So that just transition is a lot nicer now. Dust. Okay, good reason to wear a dust mask. Okay. That's how I blow the dust off, sometimes just to get it out of the way. Alright. So, just going to do one more check to make sure it's the right size. And actually, I can fold this to the middle. That'll help me find out, exactly where to put it. Okay. Something to take into account is the thickness of the turn-ins. So this book cloth is going to get turned onto the inside of the board. And so, if I'm concerned about that, I might add some paper, tucked in here to hold the space for the turn-in. I feel like because of how I've clipped it and everything, there's kind of a gapping happening anyway. I mean, I'll be kind of squishing it a little bit, but I've decided not to worry about that. I think it's going to be fine without putting any extra spacers in. Alright, so I don't want to glue out the whole thing and then stick it on because I don't want to attach it here at all right now. What I want to do is to just attach it to the boards, and so using PVA, and let's see if I can angle this so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm gluing the boards, but I'm not, oops, it's like, don't glue that part, that's, oh, sorry, it's really hard to see what I'm doing. That's better. Alright. So I'm gluing the boards, kind of where I think the book cloth will hit it. And I may as well just do this one at a time. So then I'm going to glue the book cloth kind of about where it's going to hit. And there just should be some overlap, but not a lot. And that'll go there. And I'm just going to bring it down to the height, since I have that fold in place, and even it out this, this way. Make sure you're going to have an even turn in, and that's feeling good. And I'm not going to glue this part, the flap, down yet at all. That's something to wait on. Okay. Now I can do the other side. Just get that out of the way for now while I'm working on this. I can just glue this up here. All right. Always have your damp rag to clean your fingers nearby. I can just get that tucked in here. All right. That out of the way. Just doing that kind of pinching attachment. All right, and now, see, I can unclip that, open it up, put that aside. Oh no, oh, all right, I forgot the spine. Alright, so I forgot the spine, which means that I need to make room for the spine. Don't know how I forgot that. Alright. But that's one of the reasons that you don't glue this flap down right away when you're doing this, is because you go, oh wait a minute, I forgot this entire thing that I was going to do. This important piece. Alright. So, I actually need to not have that stuck down. Alright, that's live book restoration for you. Look at that. Forgot the spine. Okay, so that's loosened up. Get this out of the way. Alright, so originally there is a spine in place on here, and the only thing that I need to do differently here is to set this up in the middle and then attach it to the boards, and that will make all the difference. So I'm going to just do that. That in all book restoration there's always an element of recovering from mistakes, or knowing how to, so that you're not as scared to try things. Okay, there we go. And that other method I was showing you is exactly what you would do for a different kind of book, a book that didn't have this original cardboard piece. This is the original one, and I just cut a piece of board that was the exact same thickness, and it is the exact same height as these boards. Alright, hopefully this stuff that's on here is not going to be too lumpy. I mean, it's good to remove the little bits and pieces that are stuck to it. But sometimes when you've removed some bits of the board, when you put it back down, it might help fill in, you know, the gaps, so you might not want to remove it. All right, let's try that again. This will be fun. Once more into the breach. And if there were a head and tail up and down kind of a thing on this, you'd really have to be careful which side was up. Obviously, you don't want to have your book upside down in the cover. But in this case, it's just this black Canapetta. I'm just going to put that in there. And hope that we have enough room. Yes. Okay. That's good. Just kind of got to pinch it into place a little bit. And remember to line it up, head and tail. Okay, that's pretty good. Flip it over. Same thing. Remember, I am not attaching the spine to the spine at all. I'm just attaching the book cloth to the boards. Alright, so that is on there now, and now I want to just do this little bit of pressing like this, because that's how it's going to be eventually. Pressed in there. So, once again, before I attach the paper down, you can use these. I've got these boards. I attached acrylic rods, but you can attach bamboo skewers or whatever. And just, you know, get it set in there so it really gets the idea of where it's going. I mean, you could even, you know, set one on there and press it like this. And you could, you know, wait a few minutes or a few seconds. Doesn't matter, as long as it's, you know, starting to make that shape. Okay, now we can see how well we did. One of the ways to check to see if it's still, you know, if it's going to be square to the book and all that, is to just run a board across the bottom, and you can see this actually goes straight across. It isn't like this, or, you know, like that. So that's really the thing to watch out for. And now I can just do the turn-ins here. I think I'll glue both sides. And just do the little turn-ins there. feeling like I wasn't very careful, and I didn't make sure that the spine it's just a tiny hair over the height of the boards here. So for instance, if I took a ruler and went like this, you can see there's a gap here because this is actually sticking out a tiny bit. But instead of trying to move this whole piece down, which I could do, I actually like the fact that it's just a hair in. And so instead I'm gonna cut it, which is a little odd maybe, but there you have it. That's what I'm gonna do. And what I can do is take a bit of cardboard or plastic or something, just something to stick in here to protect the book cloth from what I'm trying to do. This, once again, may be a little silly to be trying to save this, but I just want it to be a hair shorter. So I'm just going to cut the little if you just do it kind of one layer at a time, you can control it pretty well. Almost there. Obviously, you could wind up cutting all the way through, so just, don't. Stop before you get there. Like here, I'm switching to this more controlled knife, and I'm just kind of scraping it instead, just to really make sure I'm not going to cut through that book cloth. That's no fun. Okay, that's better. Now I can do the turn in. And what I like to do is to pull these in so that you don't have anything sticking up when it's standing up. You don't want these bits to just, go up from there. All right, do the other side. I'm noticing that that first side, because I delayed on the glue, it was nice and sticky before I put it down and was really easy to attach. Okay, there we go. So that's all ready like that. Another nicety that we could do is line this if you didn't want it to curl at all and really make sure it's flat. But it's kind of an extra step, not necessary on this particular book. So now how do we get that into the cover here? That's the next step. Getting there though, huh? Alright, so the next thing is just to glue, well, this is always tricky, the casing in part. But what we're going to do is just have some wax paper ready nearby to tuck in there. And we're just going to glue this out. Oh, I almost forgot. This is my moment. This is your time you can write something. All right. Restored. April. What's the date today? Oh, God, it's not even April. Good thing I'm writing this in pencil. May 3rd, 2017. By Sophia. All right. There we go. And while I did that, I noticed the book moved around a little bit. Since I'm going to be moving it around quite a bit, I think. So once again, don't work on gluing the flap at all. Just going to attach this. And I've mixed the glue with a little methyl cellulose to give it some slip time, extra slip time. You could also mix it with paste. Kind of like that. And I'm just going to kind of stick it in there and kind of work on it from this side so I can see the square. See how it's fitting. Kind of dropping it into the spine and just seeing how that's working out. It's all good. It's going to fall into place, and I'm checking the square at the head, the sides, bottom, and now I can do this side. I'm getting plenty of glue on there, partly for the slip time and partly because I'm not bothering to glue out the other side, so I want to make sure there's plenty for it to, you know, adhesion for both sides. Okay. So now, put this up there. Like that. Okay. And now I want the boards again. And press that in. Kind of ironing it with a brick. Alright, yeah, that's coming along. Let's make sure it's right side up. Oh yes, that's good. Should have probably checked that earlier. Okay, so that is coming along, and the last steps are really to glue these down, and I like to glue them down with paste when possible because they are this original end sheet. Especially at the edges or especially further in. I might actually do the edges with PVA sometimes to make sure it doesn't flip up. Oh, I got this caught. Get out. Just making sure that's all going back down. And try not to get too much. It'll squeeze out and cause problems. There's that. And I'm just going to let that sit for a second while I work on the other side. I'm getting paste on the exposed board that's way underneath there. this side I'm adding just a little bit of PVA on that edge that I was talking about that might curl up. I think this will just make all the difference and make it just fine. Alright, so now that, I'll go down and get the wax paper, fold it to get a straight line. There we go, like that. Alright, so that's on there. Maybe I'll just do the little brick ironing again. Alright, and then the only thing left are these bits. And once again, I prefer to do them because they're original, with the paste. Because it's so easily reversible with water. You just get it damp and it can come right off. That's going okay. And it's going to be really vulnerable while it's wet, so you want to make sure you're not rubbing directly on it. Through the wax paper is better. Looping that over, just doing this side. See that, oh, that got tucked under. Okay. That got a little squooshed in my rush. I just really wanted to get this done today for you guys. There we go. Now don't forget to share this video on your page so other people can see that I'm doing live book restoration. All right. And that's just about it. Almost. There's one more thing I would always do on a book like this, and that is that after I've done all of these, you know, pressings and making sure it's in, you have to open it up again and see what the inner area is looking like. And as you can see, that's looking really good. There aren't any bubbles or wrinkles, and that is not always the case. You have to really be careful. And here's the front. Oh, there's some wrinkles. So this is a case where I might bring it up to a flat surface and just rub through something, wax paper or the Mylar, and just make sure that the wrinkles are ironed out a bit and that there's no squeeze out. That's better. Okay. And there wasn't any squeeze out, or I would not be putting the same piece of wax paper back in the book. That would be crazy. Alright, and that's just going to take a little while to dry, but hey, I just fixed my old mom's, you know, Night Before Christmas book. Yay! So that's it. That book is done, other than, you know, drying. I mean, there's some extra things you could do to the corners. Just basically you could infuse some paste in there and tighten that up, and you could put Japanese tissue all the way around the edges or whatever. But that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. And the next time we get together, the Fairy Tales Book 1. Oh, here. Hi. So the Fairy Tales Book 1. So this is the one we're going to do next. And we're going to put a new spine on this kind of a book, which is different than how this book was put together with the weird sewing. This is way more traditional. And so that'll be great. So I can't wait to see you all next time. And thanks for watching.